From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Jason White. Prime Minister Mark Carney says the government's move to recognize Palestinian statehood is consistent with Canada's longtime policy supporting a two-state solution. Carney says Canada and other countries are actively trying to create conditions for a ceasefire and then a peace process.
It's necessary, in our judgment, and the judgment of most other countries in the world, that we have to push on this now because, as I say, the possibility, in absolute violation of the UN Charter and an absolute violation of international law, of self-determination for the Palestinian peoples is being erased.
The United Kingdom, Australia, and Portugal joined Canada in recognizing an independent Palestinian state yesterday. Leaders from around the world are now in New York City for this week's 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Mark Carney says the U.S.-driven trade realignment is not a transition, but a rupture. Carney tells the Council on Foreign Relations think tank in New York, Canada is what the world needs in a time of political and economic turbulence. A group of healthcare advocacy organizations urge the government to stay the course toward universal single-payer pharmacare. That's what was recommended in a 2019 expert panel report. Canadian Health Coalition Chair Jason McLean says the government cannot cave to corporate pressure from the pharmaceutical and insurance industries.
Mixed messages only create confusion and mistrust. Canadians deserve clarity on what is being negotiated and what it means for them.
Prime Minister Carney recently committed to signing deals with all provinces and territories to cover birth control and diabetes medications. He has not committed to moving ahead with full universal pharmacare. Canada's public safety minister suggests police lack the resources to enforce a buyback program of banned firearms. Gary Anandasangari made the suggestion in a recorded exchange yesterday with an unidentified gun owner. The federal government has outlawed about 2,500 types of guns it calls assault-style firearms. The commander of the Royal Canadian Navy wants a new fleet of defense ships to be Canadian from the core. Vice Admiral Angus Topshee wants the ships to be built in Canada, wherever possible. The Navy hopes to acquire a new fleet of Continental Defense corvettes about a decade from now. Late-night comedian Jimmy Kimmel is returning to television. Reporter Mike Dubusky explains.
Jimmy Kimmel Live is expected to air a new episode Tuesday night, days after Disney suspended production on the show after Kimmel's comments following the killing of conservative influencer Charlie Kirk. Disney, the parent company of ABC News, said the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. After days of what they call thoughtful conversations with Kimmel, they reached the decision to return the show.
U.S. President Donald Trump had celebrated Kimmel's suspension and called for other late-night hosts to be fired. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, some big changes coming to the CFL. As Canadian Press reporter Naira Ahmed explains, the changes will be phased in over 2 years.
Starting next season, no points will be awarded for errant field goals, punts, or kickoffs that go through the end zone. By 2027, CFL fields will be reduced from 110 yards to 100 yards, and end zones will be reconfigured, making it look similar to those in the NFL.
But the CFL's football field will remain 65 yards wide compared to 53 yards south of the border. Tickets for the Toronto Blue Jays postseason will go on sale Thursday. Toronto clinched a playoff berth with yesterday's 8-5 win over the Royals in Kansas City, but seeding is not yet determined. And Mary Jibb has won Canada's first gold of the World Para Swimming Championships in Singapore. The 18-year-old from Muskoka, Ontario, finished the women's 200-meter individual medley SM9 in 2 minutes 32.90 seconds in her World Championship debut. From the Canadian Press, I'm Jason White.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.